You could say that it was negative. It probably could have been a disaster, but I think that might have been kind of the point. To get noticed, to make a splash, it really made a big difference in people knowing who we were, like talking about Warrior, and to have people talking about our product, even if it was not in the best way. I don't know that we cared at the time.
There was warm reception from some people, but not everybody. And part of that was intentional. It all happened pretty fast. It was all in the year of 2005. So it was a pretty scary decision that was made at the time. Can this brand last? Can this product be trusted? Do they really know what they're doing? I would be stretching the truth to say that we were pioneers. In the late 90s, hockey was, especially roller hockey, was kind of going through a boom. It was expected to be like the next big thing. It was growing fast. It was seen as one of the fastest growing sports.
Judson has a breakaway. Judson going down the left. Judson winds, fires, scores!
What excitement! Oh, comes out, takes, shoots, bang!
Bullfrogs, Alan Childers slides it up to 6-4, he fires on it!
There was a lot of growth, especially in California. So people were excited about Gretzky being in LA. People were excited about roller hockey. In and around that time, there was a thing called Pro Beach Hockey, which was hugely popular on ESPN.
Pro Beach Hockey is riding the TV waves in its inaugural season as ESPN2 presents today's cyberspace showdown between the Web Warriors and the Dog Pack. Welcoming you to the wonderful world of Pro Beach Hockey, where there are only 4 face-offs, and they use a hockey ball instead of a hockey puck. And Danny, the verdict is in. The fans love the continuous action.
Out here, very few whistle, it's in constant motion, and it's great for the fans to get into it and to find the groove.
I started in '96, a couple years after graduating high school. I was in Spokane, Washington, and just answering a job advertisement in the paper. And I walked into this place, Leading Edge Composites. They were making composite hockey sticks, which I didn't know what composites were or what a hockey stick was. The innovative ownership at that time was Ron Kunisaki and his brother. I actually don't know whose idea it was to venture off into hockey, but they had added on this company in Spokane to build the sticks. But that's how we got into hockey. So we were making sticks in California for a few years. We moved our operation from Spokane to Camarillo, which is a odd choice for many reasons. It's just not very economical to do it in California. And Ron made the decision to investigate manufacturing in Mexico in earnest. Things moved pretty quickly. We recognized that the Mexico factory solution was the best for us long term. In order for us to grow, in order for us to even maintain what we were doing, we're gonna have to improve our manufacturing footprint, and we're gonna have to make it easier on ourselves for that growth. And once we took that step, I started visiting San Diego. We set up the factory in Mexico. It felt more real, like, okay, I'm staying, I'm gonna keep doing this. Setting up a new factory in Camarillo was difficult, but setting up a new in Mexico was a whole nother level.
Soy el gerente de planta aquí en la compañía Warrior México. Ya tengo 14 años con la compañía. Warrior me dio la oportunidad de ser el líder de este proyecto acá en México, lo cual me hace sentir muy contento, muy orgulloso, y lo cual se me hizo un muy buen reto de pertenecer a una industria en la que en México quizá no tiene muchas luces, muchos reflectores, pero que es tan importante en Estados Unidos, en Canadá y gran parte de Europa. En esta frontera se escucha mucho, se ve mucho el béisbol, NFL o soccer, pero hockey no lo vemos en la televisión, no lo vemos en los medios, no hay nieve por acá, no hay frío, entonces era algo que yo solo veía en las películas, solamente. Y yo te puedo decir que la primera vez que fui a un partido de hockey fue algo que jamás en la vida se me va a olvidar. Es algo, la atmósfera es totalmente diferente a lo que yo estaba acostumbrado a ver. Fue algo mágico. indescriptible. Todavía lo recuerdo como si fuera ayer y se me pone la piel chinita, como decimos acá. Es algo que no voy a olvidar, los golpes que da el bastón con el pack, los gritos de la gente y en general descubrir en la industria del hockey que superó todas mis expectativas.
So when we built the factory in Mexico, we had set up a small shop here in San Diego. We wanted to pick up some equipment, so we went to a local auction. At the time, there were a lot of golf companies closing up shop and moving either to Mexico or to China. This factory, Unifiber, that we went to, we picked up a couple of ovens from auction. This big, loud dude comes running over to us. Whoa, 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 you can't have that one. This isn't what you bought. You know, you got to take this. He tried to push the garbage on us, and we fought with him and yelled at him, and ultimately came to some agreement over which one we could take for the $75 we had spent. Getting to talking to Joe, he asked us what we do, and we was like, yeah, we have a hockey company, and we're setting up in Mexico. So he kind of changed his tone a little bit, like, oh, my son plays hockey, and he's about to need a job. But he was like right out of high school, I think. He just asked us if you guys were hiring, which we weren't, but we brought him in. Smart guy, handy, knew his way around a toolbox, played hockey, he's from here in San Diego. We brought him on as probably one of the smartest things we ever did.
When I started in 1999, it was very much a thrown into the deep end right away. I was 20 years old, and I had experience at the previous company I worked for in golf. Everyone had to do a lot of things, and I did things from sweeping, cleaning, loading and unloading, deliveries with the forklift, laying up composite materials for the custom blades that we were making at the time. There was a lot of hands-on product that we were doing at that time, and everything took a lot longer than it does now and was a lot messier.
The early stuff at Innovative was, the most challenging part was growing from a small shop to a factory. I didn't know anything about running a factory. We were coming from a small shop of 3 or 4 people with basically no quality control, no process control, and trying to set up a factory with like 50 people making sticks 2 shifts a day for big customers like Nike and Bauer. Anybody who does manufacturing will tell you that's pretty dangerous to do. But we were part of just a very small team figuring that out.
Estoy trabajando en maquiladora desde hace 25 años y estoy en esta empresa desde 2006 y desde el 2008 en el área de profesionales. Aquí en esta empresa pues fue el reto un poquito más grande y por eso tengo ya casi 19 años en esta planta. Pero en un principio sí fue retador, muy retador, porque era quebrarte la cabeza, ¿cómo voy a hacer esto? ¿Cómo voy a hacer el otro? Porque yo puedo pedir, no sé, me gusta que el stick pese tantos gramos, se flexee de tal manera, tenga tal acabado, entonces no se involucra un solo departamento dentro de la empresa, ya involucras R&D, ingeniería, calidad y nosotros producción.
Scaling up was, is a matter of kind of mathematics. You need more ovens, you need more presses. Controlling what you're making and ways of doing that are the least sexy, but the most important parts. The secondary challenge would be, growing the brand. At the time, we still maintain our Innovative brand, and we were continuing to sell those, but we're also selling to our competitors. We were doing OEM manufacturing for people that we were directly competing with. But we were so small, I think they didn't really see us as a threat. So like Nike and Bauer, Hespler, and some of these other companies we were dealing with, we were a very convenient solution. These are all wood sticks at the time, and hockey, especially composite sticks, were becoming more popular, and it was a new, novel thing. It was more of a modern approach to just the stick technology and to the technology of the game. The stick market itself is very dominated by wood. Composites as an engineered material just gets you so much further in terms of what you can do. The properties in terms of lightweight and flexibility, which ultimately help harder shots, more control, faster release. All those things are not possible with a wood stick. The players developed along with the product. As we pushed the boundaries of what we were doing, they would just discover new things that they could do, and it was always trying to keep up with what's the best way to optimize for this new sort of flavor that's happening.
These shafts were kind of groundbreaking at the time. It was one of the very first shafts that were ever made at Innovative before we became Warrior. This shaft might have been made even before I started, late 90s. Basically at the time, this is all that we did at Innovative was make shafts. We hadn't started making custom blades yet out of carbon. It was a tough thing to figure out. Players having to put a blade into the shaft. So to do that, they had to heat up the blade and the shaft to get the glue to melt, and heating up carbon fiber material is a bad idea most of the time.
It all happened pretty fast. It was all in the year of 2005. So it was a pretty scary decision that was made at the time. We were introduced to the founder of Warrior. He expressed interest in expanding his lacrosse business and adding some hockey for some counter seasonality and just some kind of added mojo of these two aggressive sports. When you're around him, he's very convincing and persuasive that what his vision was going to be real and that you could do it. He was okay with being offensive. He was okay with alienating certain parts of whoever he was talking to. It was really infectious to be around him, especially when he talks about Warrior. He was having a lot of success with Warrior Lacrosse, and I think some of the ways that he built Warrior Lacrosse were certainly informing the way that we were going after hockey. He wanted to make noise. He wanted to get noticed. He wanted us to stand out. We're considering selling the company to other companies as well, just to kind of strengthen our future. But Warrior and New Balance was a pretty strong partnership, tough to beat. So in pretty short order, Jim sent John Larson. John Larson was the president emeritus of New Balance at the time. He came in and visited us, looked at the factory. His experience in composite hockey sticks was zero, but he knew a solid business when he saw one. Everyone got behind it, and we were able to grow it pretty fast. You know, at the time, Nike was entering the hockey business with their big acquisition of Bauer. So there was a built-in respect for what we were doing. They knew that we were building good product. They knew that we had come there to compete. I wouldn't call it fear, but there was a certain respectability there. They knew that we had came to play. Warrior at the time had a pretty clear personality of what it was doing. It wasn't super mysterious as to how we were going to get after it in terms of the look of the company. From a technical standpoint, you know, we had a very clear idea of what we thought a good hockey stick should be. You know, with wood sticks, they're all screen printed. It's a very simple process, very low quality, but that's how they were all made. They looked horrible. Holmes and myself and Eric Reese, who's an amazing graphic artist, we worked together developing that first round of Warrior sticks.
I'm here to talk to you about the Warrior Dolomite. Oh, what a tasty stick.
Taking that Warrior personality that was already there in lacrosse and really blending it with a more professional, polished look, which is what Eric really brought to the table. You know, the product naming didn't match like Bauer and CCM. Very letter and number sort of product naming approach, whereas you know, we had our Dolomite and Mac Daddy, Royale, and developing a unique look for each of these things. That was, amazingly, that's something that nobody was doing. Everything was just very much the same. So we wanted each one to have its own personality, think about why they look different and why they stand out. A lot of it was, there's these green and orange and blue and orange and these bright kind of color wheel experiment looks that we were doing. We knew that we were able to take some chances and look different on the shelf. I think we did a better job of that than anybody. It's certainly one of the largest breakthroughs with hockey sticks in general. This is maybe the second stick that we actually designed. It's definitely influenced by the sort of tribal design that was happening with Warrior, but this was a more professional and refined way of doing it. The coverage of the way this is designed is something that you don't see on any other hockey stick at the time. This was not something that anybody had seen before.
You know, very early Dolomite sticks that guys like Sergei Fedorov used. These wild graphics that were very far outside of the norm for the time. We had some trouble getting a lot of NHL players to use these graphics at the beginning. You know, when we started, we had these very wild, abnormal graphics, which were very eye-catching and were great at the beginning to just kind of let people know who we were, that we were on the scene, and these kind of heritage graphics that we call it now are the inspiration for what we're doing with the special sticks that we're releasing for the 20th anniversary. You can see this is the Covert Deluxe. Having this 20th anniversary stick hail back to the foundation of Warrior is pretty cool.
Yeah, so that stick over there, the one that's 20 years old, is a two-piece stick. It's basically a shaft and a blade that's glued together, which was about where the technology was at the time. It was really hard to make composite blades. It wasn't much established technology there. Whereas this is all molded and this is a one-piece stick. So the way that this feels and shoots is a lot more integrated and a lot smoother than the older sticks. This stick is also a lot lighter. We have gotten better at our material selection process. So what are we going to use to make this versus that? And then also we've just gotten better at making sticks. So the control in the factory, how the presses are designed, how the molds are designed, all of those things are a major contributor to how we can make sticks this light and strong.
Well, we've never had the most guys in the NHL. Since about 3 or 4 years into Warrior, we've hovered somewhere around 200 players in the NHL. Much more important, the quality of the players we have over the quantity. And we've had so many amazing hockey players using our product in the last 20 years. Fedorov, Kovalchuk, Kovalev, Lidstrom, Shanahan, Niedermeyer, Robitaille.
How did you get more and more players throughout the league on board?
The one thing that made it a little bit more difficult was the bold styles that we chose to go with. The veteran guys that we had in our stable were used to sticks that had maybe one color on it, and the only color was words, maybe writing the name of the stick. So having sticks that had some real design and artwork on them was challenging to get them to use at first.
It's very much a team sport. That was one of the other things, I'd say that was one of the headwinds with what we were doing, was that Warrior kind of stood out, but hockey is very much team. You know, I don't want to stand out too much from my team. We have some individuality with how we play, but I'm not trying to stand out. I don't want to be like, you know, the flashy one.
Other players saw that the Warrior product was the same as the innovative product, that we did not change stuff about how our performance was. We were able to start doing things for ourselves that were bigger and better than what we could do when we were innovative.
It's all about helping players achieve their goals. Working with players and connecting their kind of mindset and desires, combining that into what the material and manufacturing process was. To me, that was the juice. So I enjoyed being able to kind of imprint what I thought a good hockey stick should be into what we were making.
There were a few players in my time here that have been challenging to work with. I'll talk about Kovalchuk as an example. He would claim that his sticks were too heavy. And so next time I sent him sticks, I would just like take a sticker off that marked what stick it was, and then I would send the same sticks back to him. He would pick them up and tell me which numbers were heavier again. And he was exactly right every time. He earned my trust. I earned his by making sure that every time he had a problem, that we fixed it.
Y al principio yo decía, qué exagerados, ¿cómo vas a ver? Si saben, un jugador con el puro toque, con el puro feeling, sabe si una navaja, si un stick no tiene la flexibilidad correcta, no tiene el peso correcto, no tiene la orientación correcta, o simplemente cuando golpea el puck no reacciona como debería de reaccionar. Y esos pequeños detalles son muchos detalles que no son objetivos, podrían ser hasta subjetivos. Entonces, eso es lo más difícil, cumplir la satisfacción del cliente.
Un lema, un dicho, que aquí no hay días aburridos. Todos los días son diferentes, todos los días son distintos, porque el estar, nuestro principal objetivo es entregar a tiempo. Estamos limitados con eso y es una meta que debemos de cumplir siempre, pero es más un compromiso. Nosotros entregamos sticks en 10 días, nuestra competencia tarda mucho tiempo, pero nosotros en 10 días promedio es cuando entregamos los sticks. Entonces todos los días es asegurarnos que las órdenes se estén moviendo en piso de producción.
Este producto sigue siendo un producto muy artesanal. A pesar de que sí tenemos maquinaria, tenemos equipo y podemos hacer algunos moldes para la navaja. La misma navaja en sí se tiene que hacer manualmente. La estandarización del producto es complicada porque cada mano tiene diferente fuerza, diferente manera de hacer las cosas. Cada jugador, su curva es diferente, la navaja es diferente.
So blade technology and construction is changing and evolving. What do people want it to feel like, sound like? But as you can see, the variety of curves is endless. For some of these players, like Kovalchuk has probably 23 different patterns here. Kovalev, 17 or 18. There is no perfect curve, so they just keep adjusting it, and we're there with them on this journey. You know, making a splash isn't hard, but continuing to impress people is tough, and you can't get by on your good looks forever. We could continue to make good product, but could we continue to make it interesting? And what does that even mean? That became difficult. We had some pickups along the way, but when things are going great, everything's fine. But then you get a bad batch of material, but you didn't check it, and all of a sudden, everything's breaking. And that happened to us more than once. You don't know if you made it wrong. It's not very obvious. It looks fine, but then you send it out, people buy it, they try it, it explodes, and you multiply that times NHL, stuff that's on TV, it can be pretty scary. Watching sticks explode on TV was never fun. There's been so many times where you just see players snap a stick and then somebody takes it and goes the other way and scores. Or it's like a critical moment and somebody's got a wide open shot to the net and just gives it everything and the thing just folds in half. My phone's ringing and the next morning's pretty rough.
Cuando tuvimos un problema de calidad horrible y que pensé que todo estaba destruido y que toda mi carrera se había acabado, y también de esos errores creo que también he aprendido más, en el sentido de que el Water como compañía es una que se preocupa por el ser humano y te da las herramientas para que eso no vuelva a suceder y tomar de esa mala experiencia lo mejor para que no se vuelva a repetir.
But ultimately it's the players that really are the last line of defense, the real source of inspiration in terms of what it ultimately performs like. And if you've achieved what you wanted to, something new and cool that you thought was going to work, nobody cared, or it was something that surprised you, and we're going to explore that further.
Cuando se pide un stick que es custom, pero sobre custom, es decir, en áreas profesionales tenemos esos palos personalizados, pero hay jugadores que todavía piden personalizado sobre el personalizado, detalles, y cumplir eso es retador, pero es satisfactorio una vez que lo mandas y que el jugador está contento de lo que le estamos mandando. Aunque a la persona no la estamos viendo, no le entregamos los sticks en la mano, pero sé que él al recibirlos va a estar contento. Y la gente lo sabe, porque esa información yo siempre las comparto con el piso de producción.
What would you say is the most rewarding part of your job working with pros?
I am not that good of a hockey player. I love hockey. Seeing our players on TV using our product to score goals or achieve great things is pretty awesome. It's a sense of pride that comes from that. I don't know very many other situations where you can be a part of creating something, designing it, knowing how it's built, delivered to the player, and then see it in a situation like that. Not a lot of people that make things get to watch people on TV using them and then using them to do incredible things, score a highlight goal. It's pretty fulfilling for me. The guys like Isaac and myself and Ron were Warriors before we were even part of Warrior, because we were part of this little company that was just like trying to break into the big boy arena. 20 years of Warrior, been here the whole time. It's just been a pretty awesome ride. I don't really know how it would feel to not wear this hat or not have the W on my shirt. It's a big part of who I am, for sure.
Cuando nos invitaron al primer partido, yo regresé súper contento de Los Ángeles, y era así como que, quiero más. Porque hasta ahorita eso ha durado para que yo entiendo cuál es la importancia de mandar sticks en tiempo, con buena calidad, tanto estructural como cosmética, y que el jugador profesional que recibe un salario por eso quiere el mejor stick. Entonces fue un detonante. Entonces, yo veía este trabajo como una responsabilidad, obviamente es mi trabajo, pero ese primer partido me di cuenta de la importancia, el siguiente nivel de tener que hacer ese trabajo con calidad, sobre todo. 19 años en la planta, ¿qué te puedo decir? Súper orgulloso, muy contento, como te digo, no tengo días aburridos, es un compromiso.
My job today is not the same job I had 5 years ago or 5 years before that. What Warrior has taught me and what they've invested in me and in this company, that's what keeps me here. I never felt that there was any opportunity that wasn't open to me at Warrior.
¿Qué significa Warrior para mí? Warrior es un estilo de vida, es una manera de vivir y de tomar las cosas. Y la traducción es literal, ¿no? Sí, somos guerreros, hemos hecho de no saber nada, de estar en un país en el que hockey no se conoce, a descubrirnos a nosotros mismos que somos capaces de hacer cualquier cosa que nos propongamos, y eso es ser un guerrero, y eso es parte de Warrior. Warrior siempre te va a poner metas, que esas metas siempre van a ser ambiciosas, pero no te va a dejar solo. Warrior es una compañía que te da la oportunidad, es una compañía que te ve a ti como un ser humano, y también como un activo más, o como una persona más. Allá en el piso de producción tenemos gente de 20 años, 25 años, 22 años. El promedio y los esfuerzos que esa gente continúa para venir a trabajar y dar lo mejor de sí y dar el mejor esfuerzo, la verdad no es comparable.